right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called You Can't Take It With You, 1938. Giving it 2 out of 5 stars. I just like this one. The only good thing about it was Lionel Barrymore was tax protester, and he did a license for his fireworks. So it's kind of like a white male swine of a capitalist pig goes up against the Addams Family kind of thing. I didn't particularly care for it. I'm not a big fan of Frank Capra. I've got to put his name in the description. Oh boy. So I finally picked one that I chose. It was probably colorized at some point, this movie. I'm at the top of my Netflix queue that they kept delaying because they said long wait on the top before they just Frank Capra. I think I know how to spell that. And they just put long wait until they just vaporized my entire Netflix queue. Now I can't see most features or anything. And you know how much I've complained about Netflix. I refuse to use Netflix streaming, but most of the stuff on Amazon Prime is already on YouTube for the same price. I think I mentioned that before. Anyways, You Can't Take It With You is a 1938 romantic comedy. Oh, no! 1938 U.S. romantic comedy film directed by Frank Capra and starring Jean Arthur, who was in Room Service, Lionel Barrymore, James Stewart, Edward Arnold. Adapted by Robert Riskin from the Pulitzer Prize-winning 1936 play of the same name by George S. Kaufman and Moss Hart. The film is about a man from a family of rich snobs who becomes engaged to a woman from a good-natured but dedicatedly eccentric family. They're the Addams Family, okay? Some Russian dude who's into wrestling, some pyrotechnics going on, some goofy bald guy who's into masks. The movie poster says the great Pulitzer Prize play becomes the year's outstanding picture. Oh, lamestream movie. Lamestream! A critical and commercial success, the film received 2 Academy Awards from 7 nominations, Best Picture and Best Director for Frank Capra. This was Capra's 3rd Oscar for Best Director in just 5 years following It Happened One Night and Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, neither of which I've seen, thank God. It's a Successful Banker, Anthony P. Kirby, Edward Arnold. Has just returned from Washington, D.C. He's the white male swine of a capitalist pig. Wants to create a monopoly on weapons of war, where he has effectively gained a government sanctions munitions monopoly. So it's ammunition. I guess bullets, which will make him very rich. The only time there's been a monopoly is Braddock, the the thing you could use to measure your shoe when you go to the shoes, your shoe size when you go to this foot store. That thing, that was Braddock, and then there's Rawlings baseballs. Those are the only two instances in the United States of an actual monopoly, as far as I'm aware of. He intends to buy a 12-block radius around the competitor's factory to put him out of business. So you got to think of very simplistic terms like this block is one block of a monopoly game board or something. But one house is a holdout to selling. Kirby instructs his real estate broker, John Blakely Clarence Wilson, to offer a huge sum for the house. And if that is not accepted, to cause trouble for the family. Meanwhile, Grandpa Vanderhoff, played by Lionel Barrymore, convinces a banker named Poppins to pursue his dream of making animated toys. So Popper is the goofball who's into masks and stuff. He just quits his job and runs away. I guess the Lionel Barrymore character, Grandpa Vanderhoff, has quite an estate because he's got a big house and he's got all these people living here, and he's been retired for like 20 years. 30 years. I don't know where he gets all this money in the Great Depression, but he just sits around and plays this harmonica all day. Which is probably what most people did in 1938. Anyways, Kirby's son, Tony James Stewart, a vice president of the family company, has fallen in love with company stenographer Alice Sycamore, Jean Author, who happens to be Grandpa Vanderhoff's daughter. Why is he called Vanderhoff and she's called Sycamore? I don't know. I thought James Stewart was a Sycamore. I'm confused now. When Tony proposes marriage, Alice is worried that her family would be looked upon poorly by Tony's rich and famous family. In fact, Alice is only relatively normal member of the eccentric Sycamore family, also known as the Addams family, led by Vanderhoff. Unbeknownst to the players, Alice's family lives in the house that will not sell out. Kirby and his wife, Mary Forbes, strongly disapprove of Tony's choice for marriage. So I guess Lionel Barrymore, Grandpa Vanderhoff, is not Alice's dad. He's kind of like her mentor, I guess. Before she accepts, Alice forces Tony to bring his family to become better acquainted with their future in-laws. But when Tony purposely brings his family on the wrong day, reasoning that he would rather the two families meet as they are, not in formal stuffed shirt setting, the Sycamore family is caught off guard and the house is in disarray as the Kirbys are preparing to leave after a rather disastrous meeting. The police arrive in response to what they perceive as printed threats on flyers by Grandpa's son-in-law, Ed Carmichael. When the fireworks in the basement go off, they arrest everyone in the house. This is supposed to be the screwball comedy moment. There's a moment when the IRS comes into this dude's house and they have a really long conversation about your tax dollars at work. That was a highlight of the film. The other highlight is when Lionel Barrymore gets fined for not having a license for the fireworks. Anyways, that's the only reason to like this movie. The rest of the movie is just rubbish. Karate Man's in the chat room. It's Karate Man time, 4:36 p.m. on the left coast. I'm back with yet another recommendation. Oh, yeah? Just one or 20? For Adrian. Poor Adrian. Karate Man took over my channel, and I chastised him for not being Catholic, being anti-Catholic. So Adrian made one recommendation, and Karate Man made like 50. I think Adrian's dejected because he weaned himself off the bottle. He should just throw away all those bottles. Get rid of it. Supreme Sanction, 1999. Okay. I'll look it up and I'll see if I can add it to my list. Michael Madsen. Christy Swanson. Christy Swanson looks good. Ron Perlman. Does Christy Swanson get naked? Oh, it's a TV movie. Never mind. Tons of action. Yeah. What else? Of course. It's Karate Man movie. All right. So the budget for this was $1,644,736. Box office, $2,137,575 in U.S. rentals, and $5,295,526 in international rentals. All right. Held up in a drunk tank preparing to see the night court judge, Mrs. Kirby repeatedly insults Alice and makes her feel unworthy of her son, while Grandpa explains to Kirby the importance of having friends, that despite all the wealth and success in business, you can't take it with you. So you hear this tried expression all the time: you only live once. Enjoy it while you can. Don't be a snobbish businessman. Oh, it's on YouTube. Supreme Sanction. Okay, in that case, I'll probably consign it to the bottom of my list. Right there next to Adrian recommendation. The one piddly Adrian recommendation. Adrian used to recommend like stuff all the time. I don't know what happened to him. He's like not contributing to my channel at all, hardly. And then he wants me to review his movies. It makes no sense, but whatever. After 2 years of doing nothing, he's like frustrated. Night Hunter. Okay. So Karate Man has 2 recommendations. Night Hunter is 1996 with Don the Dragon Wilson. We like Don the Dragon Wilson on this channel. Oh, he's got long hair. He looks like Brandon Lee from The Crow. Night Hunter. This is a horror drama? Don the Dragon Wilson in a horror flick? All right, that looks intriguing to me, yes, somehow. At the court hearing, the judge, Harry Davenport, allows for Grandpa and his family to settle the charges for disturbing the peace, making illegal fireworks by assessing a fine of $100, for which Grandpa's neighborhood friends pitch in to pay. He repeatedly asked why the Kirbys were at the Vanderhoff house when Grandpa, attempting to help Kirby, says that it was to talk over selling the house. Alice has an outburst and says it was because she was engaged to Tony, After one date, they start kissing, but is spurning him because of how poorly she has been treated by this family. This causes a sensation in the papers, and Alice flees the city. With Alice gone, Grandpa decides to sell the house, thus meaning the whole section of the town must vacate in preparation for building a new factory. Factory! Karate Man says he plays a vampire hunter. It's basically action horror. You reviewed more Don the Dragon Wilson movies than anybody else on YouTube. Yeah, we tried to promote Don the Dragon Wilson on this channel. Very much so. We will never stop reviewing Don the Dragon Wilson on this channel. So help me God. Now the Kirby companies merge, creating a huge fluctuation in the stock market. Sort of like what's happening now. All the stocks are tanking. The Pope has gone crazy. And I bet you tomorrow at church we'll get attacked by an angry mob of neocons who want to start war with Iran and they want to send my son there. It's time to enlist. When Kirby's competitor Ramsey H.B. Warner dies after confronting him for being ruthless and a failure of a man, Kirby has a realization he is heading for the same fate, and Kirby decides to leave the meeting where the signing of the contracts is to take place. One of his competitor rivals who's going out of business, he's putting out of business. He has a heart attack right in front of him. Enough with all this Karate Man says, that's awesome. Just goes to show his movies are mostly forgotten with a little bit of cult following. His movies should have a lot of cult following. He's one of the best kickboxers. I think he's undefeated, right? I'm trying to remember. I think he's undefeated. Correct me if I'm wrong. As the Vanderhoffs are moving out of the house, Tony tries to track down Alice. Kirby arrives and talks privately with Grandpa, sharing his realization. Grandpa responds by inviting him to play Polly Wally Doodle on the harmonica that he gave him. The two let loose with the rest of the family joining in the merriment and the Alice. And with Alice taking Tony back, you can almost see this ending coming. I'm not even going to spoil it, but it was too predictable anyway. Behind Enemy Lines. So Karate Man has 3 reviews. Adrian's nowhere to be found. He's probably drunk in an alley somewhere. Behind Enemy Lines. There's a difference between a good fan and a bad fan. Karate Man is the example here. Owen Wilson. Gene Hackman? No, that's not it. 1997. Where does Karate Man get all these recommendations anyway? Has he been spending the last 40 years watching these movies? Who has time to watch all this stuff? Oh, this one gets a 4.2 out of 10. Behind Enemy Lines. 900 gets a 3.9 out of 10. I'm looking forward to Night Hunter. That's got to be one of those so bad that it's good type movies. Oh, Supreme Sanction with Tommy Lister Jr., Ron Perlman, Christy Swanson, who looks like Anna Nicole Smith look-alike, and Michael Madsen. That one gets a 4.7 out of 10. All right. I'm going to add those to my list. If I can't find it, I'll let you know, Karate Man. In November 1937, Harry Cohn of Columbia Pictures bought the film rights of the original play for $200,000, which is $3.589 million in 2019. After seeing actor James Stewart portray a sensitive, heart-grabbing role in MGM's Navy Blue and Gold, Frank Capra cast Stewart for the role of the leading male character, Tony Kirby, to fit his concept of idealized United States. I don't care about Frank Capra's idealized United States. He was a big-time warmonger during World War II. Nobody cares about Frank Capra except for the lamestream people who watch this kind of stuff. Barrymore's infirmity was incorporated into the plot of the film. His character was on crutches the entire movie, which was said to be due to an accident from sliding down the banister. So we've got this pathetic, retired Barrymore character who just sits around and plays the harmonica all day. He's hopping around on his crutches. He's a pathetic, low-life individual. Why did you make him a hero? This is like that stupid Disney movie with the fish and its fin is missing. In reality, it was due to his increasing arthritis. Early in the year, he had been forced to withdraw from the movie A Christmas Carol, 1938, with Reginald Owen, which is a great movie. Ann Miller, who plays S.E. Carmichael, Ed Carmichael's wife, was only 15 when You Can't Take It With You was filmed. Prepubescent, no, I'm just kidding. 15-year-old girl on what was Ann Miller in? What was Ann Miller in? I don't even remember. I think she was in, I can't remember. Frank Nugent of the New York Times calls the film a grand picture, which will disappoint only the most superficial admirers of the play. Variety called it fine audience material and over the heads of no one except me. The comedy is wholly U.S., wholesome, homespun, human, appealing, and touching in turn. It would have been nice if Lionel Barrymore had said, "You can't take your possessions with you to heaven." And he does some kind of funky grace thing at the table. I don't even think he's Catholic. Anyways, the review suggested that it could have been edited down a bit here and there. Yeah, it's like 2 hours long, this thing. I bought it on YouTube for $3.89 or something. Though as standing, it is never tiresome. I think the first half of the movie, the first hour is tiresome. Film Daily wrote, smoothly directed, naturally acted, and carefully produced, You Can't Take It With You has all the elements of screen entertainment that the fans could wish for. Excellent, wrote Harrison's reports. Robert Riskin did a fine job in adapting it from the stage play, for he wisely placed emphasis on the human rather than on the farcical side of the story. Yet he did this without sacrificing any of the comedy angles. I didn't find this movie funny at all. I didn't get one laugh out of this movie. What kind of humor is this 1938 romantic comedy crapola? John Mosher of The New Yorker thought that the stage version was superior, writing that many of the story's new additions for the screen made the film a long one, and at times a ponderous thing, especially in the beginning. The more so, the further from the play the screen version strays. So I guess the moral of the story is to watch the play. I don't know. I really don't. Reviewing the film in 2010, James Bernardinelli, that's a tongue twister, wrote that it hasn't fared as well as the director's better, more timeless offerings due to the dated nature of the screwball comedies. Yeah, no kidding. Not funny. An innocence permeating the movie that doesn't play as well during an era when audiences value darkness in even the lightest of comedies. Still, You Can't Take It With You provides a pleasant enough 2 hours, along with the reminder of how specific the criteria for winning an Oscar are. Yeah. Put an old man on crutches going up against greedy white male swine of a capitalist pig, and you get an Oscar. In 1938, where everybody's communist. Everybody wants a government handout. Rotten Tomatoes gives the film a rating of 95% from 76 reviews and an average rating of 7.5 out of 10. The consensus summarized its predictability. It's predictably uplifting fare from Frank Capra, perhaps the most consciously uplifting of all great U.S. directors. But thanks to immersively appealing performances and nimble script, You Can't Take It With You is hard not to love. It wasn't that hard for me not to love, because I'm in 2013. I'm looking at this in the lens of crappy romantic comedy from 1938. You Can't Take It With You was adopted as a radio play on October 2nd, 1939, broadcast of Lux Theater with Edward Arnold, Robert Cummings, and Fay Wray. We like Fay Wray on this channel. The thing is, if Netflix hadn't have dilly-dallied with sending me the disc for this movie before they vaporized it, my entire queue, I would have been able to listen to the Lux Radio Theater broadcast. I wonder how long that is. Because it's on the bonus features. It is. A line from the film Confidentially, She Stinks, said by Colin Koff, the ballet master, about one of his students, was used in a few Looney Tunes cartoons from the 1940s. Wow, that's really funny. Confidentially, She Stinks. In 2013, Sony Colorworks and Prasad Corporation digitally restored the film, removing dirt, tears, scratches, and other artifacts to emulate the film's original look. I guess that's the version I saw on YouTube. All right. Karate Man keeps asking me, who's my favorite martial artist dude? I'd have to say Don the Dragon Wilson is my favorite. Benny, there's what's his name? Benny Jet. Benny the Jet. Benny Benny Urquidez. This guy is an animal. He kicks he kicks the boxing bag like 1,000 times a day. This dude, and he could beat up Japanese dudes who are bigger than him. I love Benny the Jet. We love Benny the Jet. We love Don the Dragon on this channel. Those are the top two kickboxers right there of all time. It's got to be. Who's better than those two? There isn't anybody better. Judo black belt? Benny the Jet. He's 71 years old, this guy. He's still alive. He's got kickboxing, Muay Thai, Taekwondo. This guy is ridiculously talented. He's got Lima Lama, White Crane Kung Fu, Jiu-Jitsu, Aikido, and American Kempo. Kaju Kenbo, Shotokan, Taekwondo. This guy is insane. And he met Bruce Lee. His inspiration was Bruce Lee. 12 world titles. Unbelievable, this guy. Oh my gosh. Well, Netflix gone. I'm going down my list, and I'm stuck in Renegade for like 2 months because I got to watch 1.5 seasons. How am I going to get through all of this? Karate Man's going to be begging me to do a live stream. I'll probably do it on something unrelated to movies, because from now until Christmas, only watching Renegade season 1, 2, and 3. All right, let me pull up my list, and I'll tell you what's coming in December. I said next up is Renegade, which I've already reviewed. I'm not going to review each season like Karate Man wants me to do. I told you what I like about Renegade, and I'm done. I watched the pilot, and I based my recommendation on that, the pilot. So most of the episodes are pretty decent. So I just reviewed half of season 1. All right, You Can't Take It With You is coming off my I want to delete this row. Edit. Delete. Come on, Google Sheets. Delete row 1. Here we go. All right, You Can't Take It With You is gone. Up next is Renegade at the top of my list at number 1. Number 2 is Above Suspicion, 1943. And then number 3 is Failsafe, 1964. So there you have it. Benny the Jet mostly played villains of side characters. He never got to be starring roles for some reason. He was probably too busy with his kickboxing career. He didn't want to be a movie star, but I've seen him in a couple movies, I think. I can't remember which ones, but he's the best. Him and Don the Dragon are the best. See, Don the Dragon Wilson versus Benny the Jet, but Benny the Jet is too old. There's too much of an age difference. All right. Well, that's the end of my review. I won't see you for another 2 months. I'll be watching Renegade the whole time. But if Karate Man complains, then I might do a channel update or something about something mildly related to movies. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Laters.